Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. Well, I'm here to tell you that on October 3rd, it will be the World Romance Scam Prevention Day. Yes, protectingheartsday.com, if you go there, they will be giving a free webinar on red flags and the resources and tools that are out there to help you in case you fall in victim. You can also go to advocatingforyou, that's the letter U.com. And you can also go there for additional support if you need it. Now, some of you, I know you're scratching your head and you're like, what does romance scam, how does that tie into real estate? How does that tie into real estate scams? Well, I'll tell you that a lot of times, not always, the two collide. Let me give you a few examples so that you can see where I'm going with this. You have romance scammers, particularly those, unfortunately, I hate to stereotype, but many are international, who have had women, normally elderly women, who long for attention and affection, who may have been either divorcees or they're widows, who are putting themselves back on the dating market looking for love. These men will come into their lives. It's not always through social media like you think. Sometimes they do meet the person face to face. Let me give you one particular case. This woman, she went to Sri Lanka on vacation. The man that she met, he was a driver, a taxi driver, if you will. He took her around and they fell in love, with quotation marks. He had her sending her money. One thing led to another. They got married. She bought a house over there. But here's the thing. This is why I always say to you, get a lawyer. He convinced her that she would not be able to buy the house in her name because she was an American. Well, that's not true. In that particular country, Americans can buy houses. They don't need to put it in someone else's name, into a local person's name. They can keep it in their name. Yes, you do have some countries where only locals can buy and not Americans, but you do have other countries where it's either 50-50 or you can buy it outright and it's 100% yours. Somehow he convinced her that that was not possible and the house is in his name. A year or so later, she finds out that he actually was married to a local woman. So their marriage is not even legit. So she is one of the advocates out there letting women know that, hey, this is what's going on. But listen, be mindful. This is not something that happens only to women. Romance scams also happen with men as well. Both sexes get catfished. And on top of that, it's not only heterosexual, it's also goes into the homosexual. But what happens is people are ashamed. People feel guilty because they know that sometimes in a way, you know, they are going to be looked at in a particular way. And they kind of know that what they're doing is not 100% good. Because one guy that they interviewed, he said that he wanted this woman that he thought he was getting, who came from another country, because he wanted a trophy wife. And it's like, well, why do you need a trophy wife? That's how my mind goes, and I know that's how a lot of other people's minds goes. But anyway, let me get back off track, back on track, since I went a little off track, and let me continue with how romance and real estate scams sometimes are connected. So I gave you that example there. There has been personally with me, I haven't necessarily fallen victim to the scams, but the scammers have come towards me. Number one, when I was buying property, I ran across some realtors who I noticed, they wanted to ask me out and they wanted to get with me and go out with me in a romantic way. And I thought it was just odd the way they approached me. I don't like to necessarily mix business with pleasure in that realm. But I also know from working in a store that a lot of times salespeople will dress themselves in a certain way, keep themselves up attractively in a particular way, physically, so that they can flirt, romance with customers, hoping that, and it does work sometimes, where the customer buys more than what they actually need. And sometimes, yes, I've seen salesmen date the customers. And I know that they're not really serious with those customers. I know that it's all for play, right? So seeing that as a younger person, and then now also experiencing it when I was buying a home, I kind of felt like that was what was going on, and that's what they were trying to get me with, but I didn't fall for it. Here's my thing though. I know that they must have done it because there are other women that have fallen for it before, and that's how they make their sale, by flirting, romancing, dating, sleeping with. You get the picture? So, they may not consider it a scam. They may not even know that they've been targeted that way, but I know because of my background. Okay, yeah. Way, way back when I used to work in a store. The next thing is, even after I acquired my home, moved in, became a full-fledged homeowner, one of the things that people warned me, first of all, many people said, put the house in your mother's name. Don't keep it in your name, because if you get married, the man may try to take the house from you. You may get men that will approach you for dating, propose marriage to you, and then divorce you, do all of that on purpose just so that they can get your house. So that's why you should put the house in your mother's name. And I think I mentioned that in a previous video when I talked about whose name should be on the title of the house. Okay, you may want to go back and look at that. Okay, and they mention that because this is something that has happened to people that they know. So they were warning me, right? The other thing was, people would say, do not tell people you own the home. Keep that a secret. Everybody doesn't need to know. That's another reason why I was kind of apprehensive at first when people said get on and do Facebook Live, then share on YouTube, because, many of our people don't own property. I was okay with, I'm okay with teaching, but I knew that it would make me susceptible to scams. And it did, because when people saw me and they saw my face, I did get a lot of, all of a sudden, a floodgate of men who wanted to be my friend all of a sudden. I know that it doesn't just happen to me. I know that it happens to other women. When I was just a regular person, it was happening. But when I came out and started doing Facebook Lives, it happened a whole lot more. So, yes, you do have to be careful out there with who you share your information with. Everybody does not need to know that you own a home. I did keep that a secret for a long time. I did share it actually prior to coming on doing Facebook Lives and YouTube. I shared it in a class. I was taking real estate appraisal courses. When I was taking the course, there were a few people, that were not interested in me whatsoever. Not interested in being my friend, not interested in talking to me. You could tell by the vibes, by the actions, that there was a disconnect. I'll put it that way. All right. So in that course, there came a time when the teacher brought up something and someone else in the class disagreed with the teacher, said a whole lot of things. And after a while, I just couldn't take it. And I'm like, no, the teacher is right. You are wrong. So we kind of got into it back and forth. Not necessarily an argument, just a disagreement. And I was challenged as far as, well, what makes you know so much? And I said, well, being that I've been a homeowner for X amount of time and also have other properties, that's how come I know. In another state, that's how come I know. That's why I'm saying what I am saying. So where are you getting your information from? And then I realized, okay, that person, later on I realized that person was just bluffing. It happens in real life. It happens also on social media. People, for whatever reason, will get up and act like they know stuff that they really don't know. They heard it from somebody who heard it from somebody else and got the story twisted and wrong, and then will, go around saying that this is how things are when it definitely is not. So anyway, long story short, after I came out and mentioned those things, I noticed that the people that ignored me for the most part, all of a sudden, they're sitting next to me. All of a sudden, they want to start a conversation. All of a sudden, they want to date me. Okay, so, and I know I'm not a bad looking person. I mean, I may have my days, but I know I'm pretty attractive. But, for, I would say, a month and a half, for these people to sort of ignore me, to exclude me, etc., and then all of a sudden they're all up in my face. Yeah, I know who you are, I know what you're about, and I'm not interested. But some people would be like, oh, hey, they're noticing me, especially if the people are attractive. And I have to admit, the guy was attractive, but I'm not attracted to that type of personality. So it turned me off. That's why I wasn't receptive to it. All right. So you do have that. Did I give the dude any money? No. But I know he tried me because other women have. Okay. Whether one would call that a scam that you would report to the FBI, maybe not. Maybe not. But, I don't know. I have a feeling what his history is, but I don't know the full story, so I can't really go there. You understand what I mean? But I'm just letting you guys know that these things happen in real life with, real people that you see. It's not just all on social media. And I'm also here to let you know that sometimes the two do intertwine. So I think it would be good to, listen to the video, listen to the webinar that they're going to have. You might learn something new. Don't say, you know what, this will never happen to me. Because that's one of the biggest mistakes that we all make. We always say, oh, that's that person over there. I'm not weak like them. I'm not this like them. But you know what? Here's the thing. You might be able to avoid a lot of, a certain number of scammers, love scammers, but there might be one or two that will hit you. And it's prevention, they say, is always better than the cure. So get on there, figure out what the red flags are, see what tools or resources are out there. And even if you don't get hit, you can always share the information that you have with someone else. And then the last thing I also want to leave you with is this. I mentioned numbers a lot. I mentioned a whole lot of different things that one should look for to make sure a deal is good. But when it comes to love, that's not always easy to figure out. It's not always easy. And I say this, pay attention to your gut and also pay attention to your dreams. Sometimes our dreams, for some of us, let me just clarify that. Some of us have prophetic dreams. And that's another reason why I'm not for this culture of I'll sleep when I'm dead. Or people who say they don't have time for sleep. No, sleep is important. Get that in. Because sometimes there are certain things that you can pick up once you're rested that you don't get, or that may not connect to you if you constantly stay busy and you don't put in that sleep. Okay? So again, that's what I want to leave you with personally from my personal experience. But just to remind you, the website to check out is protectingheartsday.com. That's where you register. The webinar is free. The information on there is free. And if you have been harmed or you know someone who has been harmed, go to advocatingfor, FOR, the letter U.com, and get additional resources and tools to help you through this emotional roller coaster that you may be going through, right? Okay, guys, so that's all I have for you. Please feel free to share this amongst your friends. Remember, each one reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.